Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to XDefiant. I know it's a bit weird right now making an XDefiant video as we are in the midst of the Black Ops 6 beta, but I would not be doing that if it weren't for the news being so ridiculously important to the future of XDefiant as a whole, because apparently the game is not doing very good and it may very well shut down in the relatively near future. Yeah, pretty damn big news here. So it's coming in from Tom Henderson, who is an industry insider who has his own website, Insider Gaming. I've covered Tom countless times here in the channel. I mean, Call of Duty leaks back in like World War II, like this dude's been leaking stuff forever. He's a very, very reputable source, and he apparently has been speaking to certain people at Ubisoft in regards to XDefiant, and the news is not very good. I'll put a link to the article down there in the description. It's short, sweet, and to the point, so I just want to read this out for you guys. XDefiant was all the buzz when it launched in May 2024. The game exceeded 1 million unique players in its first 2.5 hours, which is a Ubisoft record, and exceeded over 8 million players in its first week. Executives were thrilled at the title's future and even reported in the company's latest press release that XDefiant revenue contributed to its Q1 2024 financial success. But now, just 6 weeks from its Q1 financial report, Ubisoft headquarters wants player numbers to increase by Season 3, or XDefiant risks losing its much-needed post-launch support. That is pretty crazy right there. Apparently player numbers are so low that they may lose post-launch support, and if we lose post-launch support, well, that's pretty much just the end of XDefiant, right? I mean, they might have the original content that came out with the game and some of the Season 1 and Season 2 stuff, but if player numbers don't increase by Season 3, they're talking about just stopping support for the game in general, which is freaking crazy. Going back to the article, internally, optimism for the game has shifted primarily due to the game's continuously declining player numbers and lack of player spending. One source told me that the game has been struggling to obtain 20,000 concurrent players across all platforms, whereas another said they being Ubisoft, would probably be happy with that number, suggesting it's now much lower. The declining numbers have created tension and anxiety within the team, with sources who spoke to me believing that more layoffs are only a matter of time. It was already confirmed via Twitter in kind of like a nonchalant way, just a reply message, but Mark Rubin did say that their team is going through a restructuring right now, and there were firings over at Ubisoft San Francisco. In total, I think 45 people lost their jobs, and XDefiant apparently is struggling ridiculously to keep players playing and keep players interested in spending money. Of course, the game is free to play. It lives and dies by its shop, and apparently, according to Tom Henderson and his sources over at Ubisoft, if they don't up their game before Season 3, Ubisoft might just pull the entire project. That is terrifying to me, man. It really is. Like, XDefiant itself, when it first came out, was such a breath of fresh air. It still is. It's a fantastic game. Like, we're talking about Black Ops 6, like, we're playing the Black Ops 6 beta and everything. Like, that game is the sweatiest freaking game I've ever played, man. I know it's a beta. I know that. Like, betas are always going to be sweaty, but, like, it's night and day different compared to XDefiant. XDefiant is actually chill. It's relaxing. It's colorful. I love the factions that we have in the game. The gunplay is solid. The weapon camos are nice. The maps are freaking beautiful. Like, the game is fantastic. But I was talking about on my live stream tonight, it's one of those things where the core game is good, but it's been out for so long that there's really not much for you to do besides grind your weapon camos, which takes forever. I've said that in pretty much every single XDefiant video, you know? There just needs to be more things for you to do within the game. Right now, you can jump in and play, and the gameplay is good, like arguably like really freaking good. I love XDefiant's gameplay, but just playing the play pretty much, because weapon camos take forever. Like, it's like 400 levels to get the max camo, and you might get like 2.5 levels per game if you're lucky. Like, do the math on that for one individual gun. So there's no real grind to the game. You can jump in and enjoy the gameplay, but that only lasts so long. Maybe back in, like, 2003, you could have a shooter game that comes out where there's no real progression and it's just you versus other people and you enjoy that. But gaming's evolved in the last 20-30 years, man. Like, there needs to be extra, there needs to be meta challenges, there need to be a lot of things for you to grind for, things for you to do, like prestige mode, for example. They talked about that pre-launch. Right now we don't have prestige mode. That's one thing, but the player leveling in general is horrendous right now. Like, once you get up there, it exponentially gets harder and harder for you to level up. So, level 1 to level 2 might take a little bit, but it feels okay, right? But then level 2 to level 3 takes even longer. 3 to 4 takes even longer. And then when you're like me and you're up in the 100s, like, I could play the game for 4 hours straight and maybe level up one time. Now that them up there in the level 120, 130 range or something like that. So there's no player levels, the weapon levels take forever, and then the map content is very few and far between. Initially, it was revealed that we were getting one map per month, but with the overall lack of content within XDefiant, one map per month just really isn't enough to keep fans interested. Like when they released Clubhouse, that was fantastic, but then we had to wait an entire month with no real updates or no real content being added to the game, and then they added Daytona, which is only there and available in linear game modes. So if you just want to play TDM, Hotshot, Domination, Occupy, or whatever, you can't play that new map. So in essence, you have a 2-month span there with nothing really being added to the game. Just yesterday, they dropped Rockefeller finally, but I'm telling you guys what, they just revealed the other day that Bomb, otherwise known as Search and Destroy, is not coming in Season 1. That's really unfortunate. So Rockefeller, for all intents and purposes, is the last bit of content being added to Season 1. And mind you, you may think, oh man, Season 1, it's been out forever, man, it's probably almost over. No, we still have like another month of Season 1. Like it's going to be like the end of September, early October by the time we hit Season 2, which will then give us another new map, a new battle pass, some new guns, a new faction. Like the launch of a new season in XDefiant is cool. That new faction being there, having the new battle pass, the new weapons, like that part's cool. But then after that initial honeymoon phase of the new season being out, we're just kind of being drip-fed content at that point, man. And it's a situation where we have heard in the past that apparently they have the entire first year of XDefiant's post-launch support like already planned out and already figured out. I'm curious to know how much of it is actually done in terms of those weapons, in terms of those factions, in terms of those maps, because if they're talking about potentially canceling the game if they can't up their player count by Season 3 or maybe the end of Season 3, I'm not sure how they worded it, then maybe you should front load that content. Like right now, it should be all hands on deck. Like, you know what? Like, oh man, we planned for this really cool faction to come out in like spring of 2025. Bring it out now. Frankly, bring it out now. I mean, maybe not a faction. Factions change a lot about the game, but a lot of those guns, like when Season 2 drops, we shouldn't be getting like 2 new guns in a secondary, man. We should be getting like 5 new primary weapons and 2 secondaries, something crazy like that. Like front load that content into the launch of the game, because the launch of the game will always be the biggest point in the game's life cycle. And the launch was fantastic. Like again, they broke records at Ubisoft for how many people are trying out XDefiant and enjoying XDefiant and playing it, but ultimately they lost those players because there just was nothing to actually do in the game besides just play, like the normal standard gameplay, which again is good. The gameplay is fantastic, but you need more than that in 2024. You need something like a prestige mode. You need something like challenges to go for. You need to have more than just one map being added every month, especially considering the fact that the multiplayer maps themselves are being divided amongst different game modes. Like if you, let's hypothetically, I keep talking about the arena maps, but hypothetically, if you only like playing the linear maps, maybe when you play XDefiant, you only like playing Escort or Zone Control, you got one map total in Season 1. That's it. That's all you got. And if you're like a normal like arena player or whatever, or what I would consider to be normal, you got 2 maps in 3 months. 2 maps. That's it. Like 2 freaking maps and like 2 guns, man. You gotta do better than that. You really do. So XDefiant still has that selling point for me personally, which is fast-paced arcade gameplay, no skill-based matchmaking, fantastic looking maps. Like it's lighthearted, it's fun, it's enjoyable. The core gameplay is still incredible, but they have to put out more content, and apparently soon, otherwise the game may fold within its first year, which would be a travesty on all accounts. Like if you're a fan of shooter games in general, maybe you're not like a huge XDefiant fan. It's weird if you're listening this far in the video if you're not, but maybe you're not the biggest fan of XDefiant. You should be rooting for this game, because XDefiant, having a game with no skill-based matchmaking being ridiculously successful is fantastic for the games industry. Also, having proper competition for games like COD is also good as well. But right now, the post-launch support has just been so dismal that the game is essentially on life support. They're on borrowed time. They can't even get 20,000 people playing the game concurrently across every platform, and it's a free game that just came out a couple months ago. XDefiant's in a really bad place right now, and I'm interested to see where it's going to go moving forward. I'm interested to see how the XDefiant devs are going to react to this news, because of course, if it's leaking to Tom Henderson, all the devs already knew about this stuff like weeks and months ago. You know, they knew how things were going. So hopefully they have a game plan, and hopefully they have some things in motion right now to right the ship when it comes to XDefiant, because it would be a damn shame if we lost this game because of how incredible it is at its very core. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for this video here today. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave your thoughts and feedback down there in the comments on XDefiant and the current fiasco happening within it, and stay tuned, of course, more Black Ops 6 beta videos coming up. But I hope you guys all enjoyed, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.